It's like,
It's good to go, Shabana ji?
yes, please.
So I'll just share my screen here. Is it a full screen or it's a half screen? Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. Okay. It's good to start.
Yes, please.
Yes. So good morning, everyone there, whoever is watching live and whoever is watching the recording. And I'm sure when you look at the screen, the first question is, Preeti, is this question correct? What smart are you? I mean, is that right English? So maybe it's not right English, but that's the point. The point is to understand the default question we ask everyone. The default question, I mean, this is what I'm here for the topic of what smart are you, and to get you thinking about the correctness of the question. And thanks to Maven platform for giving me this opportunity to talk about different kind of aspects and limitations that we imbibe in ourselves, and getting to know yourself better with each and every communication that we have on this platform. So this is what we are up to today. How or what smart are you? What are the different intelligences? An introduction to multiple intelligence, its application, an example with signatures. So coming back, how smart are you? So when I ask anyone, how smart are you? Can you just type in the chat box that normally what is the answer you would get from someone? Or if you were asked, how smart are you? What would you normally answer? Can I have some answers in the chat box? How smart are you if someone asked? I mean, if someone asked me when I was in college days, I would have said, oh, I'm not too smart. मैं थोड़ा सा ही smart हूँ. When someone asked, like later on when I would ask people, so it would be more in terms of quantity or, something like that. And how does this question impact? The point with this question is that it's when we say how smart are you, typically it is the intelligences of the IQ, the mathematical intelligence, the linguistic intelligence. This is what normally for us smartness is. And this is how we also categorize our children. If a child is good in mathematics, for us, the child is smart. Yeah. What is the downfall of this traditional measure of intelligence? One is it's a limited assessment. We are assessing a person on only few of the intelligences. So your overall potential is underestimated, because if you're mathematically, I mean, just an example, if you're mathematically smart, means you are a smart person. So it's an inadequate representation. If I am not mathematically smart, then am I not smart? So that leads to very misleading conclusions. And that brings me to the basic understanding of what is the difference between how and what. How is like you want to know someone's health, how are you? So they'll say, I'm fine, or I'm not fine, something like that. But what? When you ask the question, what? It is used when you want to know about someone's character, about what kind of person they are. So it's not just on certain parameters, but it's what kind of person you are. So it's more of an open question, which can bring in different kind of awareness. So what smart are you mean? It means that I'm categorizing the intelligence into multiple intelligence, not just couple of them. कि आप mathematically strong हो, आप analytically strong हो, yeah, you have a very good language, so you're linguistically smart. I mean, not just those aspects, but celebrating the diverse range of abilities that each of us possess. I'm sure that when the universal force sent us here, they sent us with a unique combination. So when I ask the question, what smart are you? It celebrates, it recognizes that unique combination. So when you are categorizing intelligence on multiple intelligence, it's important because it recognizes the diversity, the uniqueness, the validation of individual strength that a person has. And it's about inclusiveness and not having a club, that these are the smart ones and these are not. It's about having a holistic development. So, and before I get into this, getting into all this awareness, I would just want to introduce myself. I'm Preeti Gandhi, a handwriting influencer and a graphoanalytical therapist. I have, I have done, I have been a seasoned entrepreneur, have been in IT, have spent 21 years in branding and advertising, and life has taken its turn. And I have gone back to my passion of graphology, of helping people work with their subconscious mind so that they can live a more fuller life. And that's how soul writing was born. I'm founder of soul writing. It's a very safe and inspiring space. It's meeting your true self. And that's why the topic of multiple intelligence is an important topic, though it's not graphology topic, but it's an important topic because all these that I'm going to talk about is evident in your handwriting. Okay, so it's whatever you are honored as a person. So what we are talking about is multiple intelligences. And before I get into the heart of the topic, I would like to say that it's not that I would have one of the intelligence and that's how I would say I am this intelligent. Multiple intelligence, the basic understanding is all these intelligences are present within us. Just that some of the intelligence are more heightened and some of the intelligence are less used or less developed. So that is the idea of multiple intelligence. So while we go through this, do not just categorize yourself as one. Yeah, one of them is dominant in you. So let's dive into this beautiful world of multiple intelligence. Now, this concept was brought in by the psychologist Howard Gardner, and he is an American developmental psychologist. And his theory challenges the traditional notion of intelligence. Okay, only one kind of intelligence or only this kind of intelligence. So that's how there are multiple ways an individual can be intelligent. It encompasses a diverse range of abilities and skill, a broader spectrum of intelligences. So all of you present here and watching this, let me unveil the beauty, the different kind of intelligences that I'm talking about. So what are they? The first one, I mean, not first one, but yeah, starting with visual, because that's how that is one sense of ours, which we use constantly. Like even when I'm quiet, I'm still watching. Right now, everyone sitting here watching this are quiet, but you're still watching this. So that's the visual, spatial intelligence, the verbal intelligence, logical, mathematical intelligence, naturalist intelligence, kinesthetic intelligence, that's a bodily movement, musical rhythmic intelligence, the interpersonal or the social intelligence, the intrapersonal, the introspective intelligence. So these are the 8 intelligences that I'm talking about. Now, what do each of them mean? So let me start here with the visual one. What does it mean? The visual intelligence, it's the ability to perceive and manipulate visual information, such as recognizing patterns, navigating spatial environments, creating mental images. So you will often find that when you look at a place in the map, somehow that positioning is far more clearer rather than someone telling you that, okay, I live in Mumbai, so I'll give an example of Mumbai that, okay, if I'm in Mumbai, then where is Pune? So rather than saying that, okay, it is in north, south, east, west compared to Mumbai, if I just show it in a map, it's far more easier to understand. That's the visual spatial intelligence. That's just one of it. It's a huge topic in itself. In fact, I can take a 1 hour session just on spatial visual intelligence. So just an introduction here so that you can appreciate the different kind of intelligences. Yeah. And then we have the verbal linguistic intelligence, the understanding and using language effectively. So that's like reading, writing, speaking, listening, where you would, for example, one example that really comes to the mind when we talk about verbal intelligence is Shashi Tharoor. People say that if you have to listen to his speech, you have to have a dictionary with you. So that's the kind of verbal command he has over the language. Then is the logical mathematical intelligence. It's the capacity for reasoning, logical thinking, problem solving. Yeah. This is something that we probably use every day in our life while dealing with money and situations. Naturalistic intelligence, that understanding and interacting with the natural world. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence is using your body in physical activities, it's sports or dance, things like that. Musical intelligence, it's understanding the rhythm, the melody. Even when some beat is offbeat, kind of you understand, ye besura hai, ya ye galat hai. That's kind of musical intelligence. Interpersonal intelligence, that's understanding and relating to others, which including empathy, communication, leadership, conflict resolution. This is what this intelligence would pertain to. Intrapersonal intelligence, that's just awareness of one's own thought. People say that aap meditate karo, aap just get connected with yourself. That is the intrapersonal intelligence. The next intelligence I'm talking about, okay, so that completes 8 of them. Now, this is what it means. The next question I would like you to think about is, what are the tips on this? What am I good at? How can I use this? So when you look at people with verbal intelligence, they are the people who are writing poetries, they're delivering persuasive speeches, what we call as the oratory skills. And these are people who can really easily catch languages. I mean, for example, there are many people, like I know one of my brother-in-law, he knows 8 languages. And I'm like, I'm grappling with 3 or 4 of them. How do you learn 8 languages? But he can, because his linguistic intelligence is very high. So for him, it's easy to do that. Coming to next, mathematical. It's solving complex problem, scientific experiments, analyzing data. So a lot of the time you will find people who have good mathematical intelligence would probably opt for some things related to mathematics. It could either be commerce, the financial aspects, or the physics aspects, where you are analyzing a lot of data, having conclusions, understanding where it can be applied, stuff like that. Coming to naturalistic, I mean, these are people, I mean, they can be with nature for the longest time and they can find peace there. And when they use their capability, they are the ones who are, getting into the weather forecasts, understanding the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, how each of them fall into the ecosystem. You must have seen, when you look at National Geographic, there are people who are staying in the forest for years together. How do they do that? I mean, there are many friends of mine, when we go out for an outing and we are there for 2-3 days in a quiet environment, they're saying, Preeti, bas 2-3 din is enough. Now we want to go back to our city, want to go back to our busy life. So that's all. They say, itna hi hum nature jhel sakte hain, isse zyada nahi. But you look at people who have naturalistic intelligence, They can be there for years together. Then comes the bodily intelligence. How good am I at that? So if you love dancing, if you love playing sports, if you like using your body to do things, then your bodily intelligence is really very good. When I talk about musical intelligence, how good am I at that? Or who are the people? How do they use their musical intelligence? So they learn to play instruments, they compose songs, they recognize different musical genres. I mean, they are good at orchestras. So these are the people whose musical intelligence is heightened. They really use it to the fullest. Interpersonal, the intelligence. These are the people who can connect with the other people well. There are some team leaders where really the people want to be with, I want to be under this team leader, because they realize that I can go to the team leader and I can get my problem solved. I can go to the team leader and the team leader will understand what I'm trying to say. So these are, people who can mediate the conflicts, who build strong networks. That's the interpersonal intelligence at play. When I talk about intrapersonal, that is about self. How aware am I of myself? Do I take the trouble of using different techniques to connect with myself? You must have, seen that some people, if you ask them, "Ki meditate karna hai," they are like, yeah, let's do it. And some people like, meditation, I can't even sit for a moment quiet. I mean, give me something to do, I'm happy with that. But meditating is difficult for them. Yeah. So those are kind of the intrapersonal skills at play. Being with yourself, doing different activities with yourself, like writing journals, writing affirmations. This is like you're talking to yourself. That's intrapersonal. Coming to the visual spatial intelligence, that's you're good at creating patterns, you're understanding patterns, you understand the nuances of the weights of different elements. And these are the people who are good at designing architectural plans, navigating through a maze. And I know I'm giving a lot of information here. So just take a minute to go through this information while I'll just get myself a glass of water. Yeah. So just go through this information. And if you have any question, type it in the chat box. I'll come back in a minute and answer those questions. Do we have any questions? Not really. Okay. So having understood all this, what do you think your intelligence is more heightened? Any answers here? You can unmute and talk.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. So after knowing these 8 intelligences, just as a first thought, what thought comes that, okay, for me, this intelligence is, I think, more at play, that this intelligence is more heightened, or I have developed it more?
Yeah, I think I have more visual,
Visual.
visual and spatial.
Okay. So in your school days, college days, what was your mode of studying like? So what helped you study better as a visual intelligence person?
Yeah, for me, anything I need to see it first. Like that is very clear. So if I'm just listening, I would say, okay, I would also like to see it.
See it.
to make, to understand it better. So that is there.
That's it.
Spatial, because I also studied geography in later. My
Mhm.
master's PhD I did in that. So that
Okay.
also helped me to develop the spatial angle towards
Mhm.
it. But yeah, seeing is something
Visual.
important
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
I remember one of my relative telling to me that whenever there was a question in exam, she would just close her eyes and imagine whether that answer is in the right side of the textbook or the left side of the textbook, and she would visually realize, understand where that answer was, and she would then write it. But she had to imagine in the textbook it's on left side, right side, upper, niche, and that helped her answer the questions. By the
Wow.
way, she did secure 92%, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to jump in here. This is Meena.
Please.
And this is what I went through. Like whatever you're saying, your cousin, I think she's my replica or I am her replica. This is how I did. I exactly knew where I put asterisk marks, where double take, important, underline.
Wow.
So, and just now I did some exercise. Just now I logged in late. Same thing. If I see something, I don't forget. If some
Yeah.
I listen, I may, but if I do something, when it comes to cooking, I never forget. So
Okay.
this visual thing, very important part
Very
of my
important.
learning process.
That's lovely. And once we are aware of this, Meenaji, that all of a sudden a lot of things become easier. You know, you then understand that, okay, if I have to crack this problem, then this is what I need to do. I need to make a picture of it. I need to, probably draw a mind map and accordingly do that. So that, I think, really helps. What's your experience with it?
Yeah, I do that actually. I
Yeah.
create a graph and diagram, which makes things easy. I like to draw as well, just to.
Go and okay, okay. And any other share?
But I think people, we can have more than one.
Yes,
Yeah.
true, true, true. It's always a combination. And I think, Shavanaji, that's what makes each one of us unique.
Mhm.
Because, some of them may have, what you say, they would combine, if someone is really good at visual and mathematical, for example, these are people who can really imagine problems and solve them. So because their imagination power is really good, so they do not really have to be told of a problem. They can actually imagine it and do it. A lot of people, I mean, this combination makes each of them very unique. In fact, after this, I'm going to take some examples of people who are very popularly known in certain intelligences. So you will realize that that person is not only that intelligent, there were other things that that person did. But yeah, this one particular intelligence was very heightened in that person. Yeah. So how is this understanding used? Where can it be used? So one place is its application in education, because once you realize that, okay, these diverse methodologies, this diverse intelligence is there, and if a person finds it difficult to understand one way, you can employ different kind of ways to address that problem. So it helps in catering to students' different understandings. So that kind of really helps. This is how it can be helped. This is how it can be applied in education. And in fact, in many ways, the new school of thought is most of the schools are employing these methodologies so that the children understand the topic much better and the engagement of children happens better. That's education. When I talk about workplace, so once you know that, once that this different kind of intelligences are there, you can benefit the workplace with your own unique capability, because any project requires different kind of inputs, different kind of understandings. There is also this topic of, I forget the actual term, wearing different hats. So there are, I think, 5 or 7 colored hats. Each hat stands for different kind of understanding. So that is at some point in time, this was very popular in corporate. So, like you are donning right now this hat. So it's basically what kind of intelligence you're talking about. So let me think from that perspective. And it helps to build a team with different intelligence skills so that the overall the project gets benefited and the organizational success happens, because when the people's input is at its best, the best results come out. And then it not only benefits the organization, but it benefits everyone involved in a very, very fantastic way. So that's the workplace application. Now I would really like you to kind of take it's 8:30 already, but I'll take 5 more minutes before I open up for the question and answer. So how different intelligences have been used by people we really know very well. And the moment you see the name, I'm sure you can even understand that, okay, ye person ka ye intelligence hai. So, I mean, the first one, the linguistic intelligence. We know Rabindranath Tagore. We know the kind of poems, that he has won awards for Gitanjali. And as it is, he's a very literary person, very, very. And if you look at his signature, I have also, as a graphologist, I'm always intrigued by where is this seen in the handwriting. So look at his handwriting, look at his signature, and look at the each letter being formed so beautifully. Now that's Rabindranath Tagore, whose linguistic intelligence is really, we are all aware of, and as Indians very proud of. Is also Janagana Mana is composed by him. Then is the logical mathematical intelligence that Srinivas Ramanujan, I mean, he's a mathematician from Tamil Nadu, and his contributions to the number theory, infinite series, mathematical analysis, they have really influenced the way mathematics works. In fact, each mathematical uh, discovery or I wouldn't say invention, but discovery takes the entire science to the next level. So, so that's how, this person used that intelligence in such a focused way. And look how well we know him, and look at his signature. Yeah. So these are the linguistic and logical mathematical intelligence. Then the spatial intelligence. Uh, who doesn't know Ravi Verma? I mean, he is one of the greatest Indian painters. His art of the portraits, the women in that settings, that realistic settings are just something that you can keep looking at. And he's a very celebrated person, and his spatial intelligence obviously is at play there. P.T. Usha, I mean, we all know this name. How she missed that Olympic medal just by the fraction of a second, but we still celebrate because she is one person who opened up the possibility of Indians being, being able to perform in athletics. So each contribution of yours that you do with your own intelligence is setting the stage for next level of growth of, for the entire community. So whatever is your intelligence, use it to influence the people around you. You never know where it leads for the other people involved. So that's PT Usha for you, also popularly known as Pioli Express. Then musical intelligence. Yes, A.R. Rahman, Oscar-winning composer, musician. You look at the music he's created for different genres and how authentic, the music felt for something like a Lagan, a movie set in the old times, to movie set in the new time, something like Tal, like such a different music composition that speaks about the depth of his musical intelligence. Coming to interpersonal intelligence, I happen to share his surname, Gandhi. So I'm Preeti Gandhi. So yeah, that's Mahatma Gandhi ji for us here, father of nation. And we know how he single-handedly influenced the country to come and stand behind him for something which is not easy to do. When someone hits you, you want to hit back. Here is this person, a tiny person, standing up and telling that no, don't hit back. This is how we will get our freedom. So imagine how much of his interpersonal skills must be at play to influence an entire nation to not react. I mean, that's an amazing um, application of this particular skill. You know, we all have this, and we all can influence our own circle of influence and bring that change, so that our life gets better every single day. Next is intrapersonal intelligence. Vivekanand ji, I mean, his work on Vedanta, yoga, uh, is unparalleled. And it took him to go to US for the Indians to recognize that. That's a different story. But yeah, I mean, his intrapersonal, his relationship with himself, with what are the questions that we deal with, and how do we answer that? How do we heighten that intelligence? Is how do we heighten the awareness? How do we get on that spiritual path? Is a work in itself. So that's Vivekanandji with 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 heightened intrapersonal intelligence. Naturalistic intelligence, that Salim Ali, he's very popularly known as the Birdman of India. And because of his contributions, we also have a lot of protected areas for bird. He has significant contribution in the study and conservation of the bird species in India. So see how when these people recognize their intelligences, what kind of a difference it brings to the world, not just in their own circle of influence. So everyone, as I was saying, has a unique combination of intelligence. And we have to, each intelligence has its own plus, has its own minus. So how do we marry all these things together, what we have within us? And how do we use it for our growth, for our development, for walking towards our, target of the month or the goal for the year, things like that. Explore ways to leverage your dominant intelligence. So knowing that, okay, these are there in me, how do you leverage that in your work? And if you require certain intelligence, then how do you build on certain intelligence? Knowing them separately makes it far more easier to understand that, okay, this is what I require to build on to be better at this job that I'm doing. So that really helps in combining all these together to go where you want to go. So categorizing intelligence into multiple intelligence is essential for recognizing diversity, validating individual strength, promoting inclusive education, and fostering holistic development. So that's what, embracing diversity becomes easier when you understand different kind of intelligences. These are certain books, which are there if you want to really know more about multiple intelligence. Also, there's a lot of data available on internet. And in fact, I was also, I'll just stop share. Yeah. Also, just for fun purpose, I have Shabana ji will share a link, which is about how can you understand what is your dominant intelligence. So it's a fun questionnaire where you answer and you get an idea about, okay, this is my dominant intelligence. This is a fun thing, so kind of do not take it totally seriously, but yeah, it's fun to know what's dominant. And for me as a graphologist, when I took this test, I could see, the percentage wise and where it shows up in my handwriting, in the signature. So that's the beauty of how all this knowledge, all this understanding actually shows up through your writing. So there are many times that you are confused that, is this right about me? Because my husband said this to me. My wife said this to me. Okay, I wouldn't use the words they normally use, but that don't you understand this much? Itna bhi samajh nahi hai? And then you start questioning that, I mean, शायद मुझ में really समझ नहीं है. But your handwriting is not biased by what people say. It is a true reflection of you. So that really shows up what you are. And so do try this test and see, where do you, what kind of intelligence, what you think you have and what the test reveals. So my session ends here, but any questions that you have, I'm very happy to answer, because when you ask questions, that gives me an idea of what is actually going on in your mind and what is it that probably I needs a little more addressing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Minaji, are you asking question?
Yeah. How are we incorporating our in education curriculum, especially primary level, secondary level, children are grown up. Like you said, they get the feeling of rejection when teachers say, can't you understand? And different types of schools. I'm not talking about high-fi schools where teachers understand all the psychology. So how to incorporate in the curriculum this wisdom to the teachers, to the trainers, so they implement that and execute that. At the same time, children are benefited. Our future of the country is benefited.
So, when you are taking any concept, for example, when the concept of number is taken up, so exploring numbers through different sensory organs, like counting sticks. So when you're counting sticks, you're using your body, you're using your vision, and you're counting sticks. So you're employing two intelligences together. So any topic that is being spoken about, when we see, when we talk about hi-fi school, as you rightly said, Meenaji, that most of these high-end schools employ multiple intelligence to a very great degree. And so that is why you will see that a lot of times, many schools, they take addition for 3-4 months. Whereas at our time, addition was just done like, ठीक है, ऐसे add करना है, हो गया. But they take addition at different levels. So that's for the hi-fi schools. The teachers are trained accordingly. But at the starting end of the schools, the more basic schools, this kind of awareness would be important, that how you can employ. I mean, you do not have to get hi-fi, but just the basic understanding, okay, how can I use hands to explain this topic? How can I deploy my eyes to understand this topic? How can I use my ears to understand this topic? How can I use music to understand this topic? I mean, I don't know how much of like, when I learned tables, so we used to recite table like this. 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4, 2 3s are 6. So there was rhythm in this. So whether you understood or not, 2, when you add 3 times is 6, whether I understood or not, but I remembered that 2 3s are 6, because rhythm was employed that time. So not that even those schools did not employ, but they employ it in an unknowing way. But yes, when you just think of your senses, and if the teacher just stretches the imagination a little, that how can I utilize my 5 senses to introduce this topic, then I think it would go a long way in helping the kids understand that better, from different intelligences. I hope I was able to answer your question, Meenaji.
This is about rote memory. Like, this is what we also did 45 years or 50 years ago, maybe more. So rote memory really works. But the thing is, like in ordinary schools, that's why I emphasize, in ordinary schools, teachers are not trained to use all these teaching techniques, teaching methods to reach the objectives in education system. So, how to still have some type of a playway method for primary and pre-primary schools. So this way, children are not hurt, because, I started one school and parents had so much of pressure that other school children at the age of 2.5 are writing, and you are just doing playway method. It became a challenge for me, because I believed in that and I insisted your children will learn and just see the performance and compare the kids. But parents have so much of pressure that children should be able to write a whatever at the age of 2.5, which is technically, biologically, everything is wrong, keeping their motor nerves and, finger development and bone development. But it's a challenge. So what I'm saying, how to bring it to mainstream, like what type of orientation can be given to teachers So everybody's a win-win, parent side, child side, as well as teachers.
So see, there are two things at play. One is the parents. When a parent decides that what school I want to send my child to, and most of the times, parents for whom it is very important that मेरे बच्चे को इतना इतना तो आना ही चाहिए, they will choose that kind of a school. Parents who are thinking, okay, what different can be done, may explore different schools. So from the parents' perspective, what I think is important is that anybody who is starting a school, that orientation of why we are doing what we are doing is very critical. Then the parents will still question, but they have an understanding that why things are at this pace, how we are training to, how we are getting children's fingers to be writing ready by playing with beads, by playing with clay. So this kind of orientation will ease out parents to quite an extent. And then, then it's easier to answer parents' question. So that's from the parents' perspective. If we want to handle that, orienting them properly to why we are doing what we are doing. That's one aspect. The second aspect is the schools. I think a lot of, even if the basic training is given to teachers in the ordinary schools, it would go a long way. And I think, the problem is not just the teachers' unwillingness. The problem is far more deeper. Teachers are not paid. They are not paid enough to be, they are not even respected enough and paid enough to be taking that extra efforts. So we need to create that space for teachers to have a relief from their so many responsibilities, give certain time to this kind of knowledge. So, having these kind of educative sessions for teachers would really help. And not just the teachers, even the management, because teacher comes from a session and they immediately give her the load of whatever is normally there. She also needs time to understand the concept, to experiment with the concept, because those ordinary schools are not equipped with all the materials that the high-end schools use to use different techniques to teach children. So education for these ordinary schools, sessions, even an introductory sessions would help them to think in that direction. Because I firmly believe, I very often listen when people say that teachers ko aajkal man nahi hai padhane ka. They just want to come, say, take their salary and go home. We are not really looking at the thing holistically. Give them the space, give them the respect. And I think every teacher has it in her that she would want her students to do better. We just don't give that kind of space and that kind of inputs to the teacher to think in that direction. So that's a humongous task, because when we think about the ordinary schools, they are far more in numbers, and huge manpower would be required to really reach out to them. Of course, with digital, I think things would be much more easier to do that, to get people together and to address to more number of people with digital. I think the task has become a little more simpler with the digital, penetration right up to the small village level. But yeah, this is my view, my take on how this can be addressed at parent level and at teacher level.
Hello, Preeti.
Hanji.
Hi, can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
Right. So how would you go about developing these different intelligence? Could you develop it using graphology, using your handwriting?
So there are, were you asking something more?
Yeah, no. So if you are able to develop it with your handwriting, then I would be very interested in knowing some techniques.
That's a lovely question. So there are two aspects to our personality. One is the aptitude, one is the attitude. Aptitude cannot be directly changed with handwriting. The attitude can be. But when you change the attitude, the inner understanding helps you to change the aptitude. So certain things cannot be changed. For example, a person who is really very strong mathematically, by changing the handwriting, I cannot develop the mathematical skills of the person. No. But yes, what can happen by using certain practice stroke is the fear of mathematics can be reduced, the openness to learn can be reduced. But that person cannot all of a sudden heighten the mathematical, because that's something that you're born with. So that intelligence cannot be heightened, but yeah, the intelligence can be worked upon so that it is not at rock bottom. It comes to a certain level where all your intelligences can work together.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah, Sanju.
Diplomatic answer.
Sorry?
Diplomatic answer.
No, it's a very fact of the matter answer. I can easily say it can, because there are certain intelligence that can be honed, but it's not valid for all of them. So promising something which is not a reality is,
Acha.
not
Any
really a real
techniques to
thing.
do
So
anything like that? It
I
comes off
think,
the top of your
to a large extent, it also raises the deeper question of why am I not happy with what is my current intelligence?
Hmm.
How can I use my current heightened intelligence to lead a more fulfilling life? I mean, I can give my example. For me, being empathetic for a very long time, I used to think is a weak point of mine. Somewhere it comes in interpersonal skill and combination of intrapersonal skills. In my work as advertising and branding agency, me and my friend had co-founded that agency. The way I used empathy was such that I felt empathy was my weak point. I did not have the awareness enough to use empathy in the right way with my clients. So most of the times my client would end up saying, Preeti ji, abhi, itna budget nahi hai, hum itna kaise pay karenge? And, I would be like, हाँ, आप इतना कैसे pay करेंगे? And my tendency would be to cut down on the fees. Thank God I had a partner who had a good vision. And she would say, Preeti, just count your overhead costs, the cost of this, the cost of that. Do you think you're making a humongous profit that you want to lower the cost? And I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. So the point being that my empathy, I was not using it in the right way. In the work that I do now as a graphologist, as a graphoanalytical therapist, this ability, which is natural to me, I'm able to use it in a beautiful way. So it's how you're using your ability. Probably, if I had more awareness, and if I had worked myself more, I would have been able to utilize this empathy even in my work as an advertising and as an advertiser and a brand person. So it's being good with what you have and utilizing it in the best possible way. Of course, I kind of went in a different kind of offshoot to the question, but yeah.
True, that's a good point that you should use your talents in the right way. I mean, as best as you can. But still persisting on that line, like I was like you were saying.
Can you be a
like
little louder? Keep the mic close.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's better.
No, I said that's a good point that you figure you're going into the aspect of like how do you utilize your talents in the best possible manner, right? But persisting in what I was saying, like you brought up a good point, like how do you develop these different qualities? Like you said, empathy. Now, suppose I want to develop my creativity, for example, then is there a way when I should write? Particularly, should I think in a different way and say, right? That's just a thought I had in mind when you said that.
There are.
Or even to
There
develop
are.
empathy, empathy which I could will then have to use in the right way, which you said. Maybe you should have boundaries, right? That's what you should develop.
Absolutely.
Because even I am kind of an empath. I didn't realize that there was, boundaries had to be set in a very, You have to be careful about that.
Yes. Um, a very important aspect is boundary and combining that with, self-love, self-esteem. I think when both these come together, magic can happen. So answering your particular question about creativity, yes, there are strokes in handwriting which helps you to sharpen the skills that you already have and take it a little to the next level by combining other things. So yes, it is there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Sanju.
Welcome.
I think someone also wanted to ask question.
Sure.
I forgot to. Is there any other question from anyone?
Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed this this session on multiple intelligence, and I hope you do increase your own awareness of which is the more heightened intelligence in you. And Shabana ji has shared the link. So
yeah, one more question I have.
yes.
So I think you have already given the link to test what kind of, intelligence we have.
Yeah.
But can we also identify the nature of our intelligence by looking at our signature?
Yes.
So anything you can tell about it briefly? How?
Okay, so let me take you to this signature. Okay, so if you see Rabindranath Tagore's signature, do you see? So in handwriting, there is something known as the upper zone, middle zone, and lower zone. So do you see the way the bees, the bee, how tall that bee is?
Yeah.
Do you see the way how tall the H is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now these things show a combination of the linguistic intelligence and the intrapersonal intelligence. So having this kind of strokes shows these two things. So intrapersonal may, if you see, yeah. Do you see Swami Vivekananda's signature?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see the S, the V, the K, they are really higher than the other letters. They are the upper zone letters. So when you have your upper zone more dominant, it talks a lot about your ability to think, your patience, and a lot of other things. So which would in many ways come under the intrapersonal skills.
Awesome.
What about mathematics?
Sorry?
What about the mathematics part? I mean, Ramanujan.
So
Ramanujan's
signature is not signature itself. In his signature, the mathematical aspects are zyada, the speed of his mind, how it works, and how quick he is shown. When you look at his handwriting, the mathematical aspect is more evident because he does not have that many those kind of strokes. So if you look at Ramanujan's signature, you will see that the flow from one idea to the other, that flow is very, let me just bring up his signature. Where is that? Do you see the signature?
Yes.
So if you look at S and R, so here what you can see more is the flow, not the mathematical aspects, because those letters are not that much there in the signature. So the flow, you see the way his signature is? It's just flowing from one letter to the other, Ramanujan. So what you can see is an R, a semblance of A. You can see J clearly. So everything is flowing from one to the other. That's how his mind works. You have an idea, how you take that the idea forward, with what do you combine it? So that flow is what you can see in the signature more clearly.
Awesome.
So
And
Shavana ji, over to you.
yeah,